What's up, guys? It's Jesse and Anthony with Blue Harvest, bringing you a little something different today. So no Rebels this week, but, in honor of Halloween, I decided to share what I think is a tremendously great horror movie with my buddy Anthony here in 1986's Class of Nuke High. So, what we have here is the epitome of what I feel is 80s just culture and trash and given to us by Lloyd Kaufman, the founder of Troma Films. He started this company in 1974. We're looking at this horror comedy with a $2 million budget. It's a
that much?
A $2 million budget estimated according to IMDb. 20% on Rotten Tomatoes, 5.6 out of 10 on IMDb. It spawned a host of sequels. Most recently, the 2013's Return to the Class of Nuke High. But here, so Anthony, you've never seen a Troma film.
Never seen it, never heard of it. When you said, "Hey, why don't we do this?" I was like, okay, this is probably some obscure, B, low budget, horror movie or something like that. And from the title, I pretty much just assumed this was going to be something along the lines of, nuclear fallout, people turn into zombies or something like that. I didn't even know what to expect. This is a fucking hot mess.
But before we go into it further, would you recommend this film? And if so, who?
Okay, here's what I will say. And this movie is so bad that it's almost good. And this is worth watching just because it is just like a chaotic mess. Before we even get into this, I was sitting down last night and I was like, all right, it's 7 o'clock. I'm going to watch this movie. 10 minutes into it, I was like, well, I'm not even gonna, there's bound to be a couple things that I'll end up pointing out. And within a matter of minutes, I was like, I've got to get a notebook, because I paused it, and because every single scene, this was just unbelievably bad. It was almost kind of joyfully good. I laughed a lot. This is not a horror movie. This is a comedy.
Dude, how can you say it's not a horror movie, though? The amount of graphic violence. They have, the alien chest burster scene, nearly. The mutants, the monsters, the prosthetics. You see a monster's fist go through someone's head. This is, of course, a horror movie.
I laughed. I literally laughed. Within 30 minutes, I was pretty much like, this could go anywhere. I don't know what they're going to do next. I would not be surprised. Nothing made sense. There's only one scene that made sense. That actually, legitimately had something to do with something else. Everything else was just, I'd have loved to have seen them sitting around hey, here's the idea. And then, they're doing lines of coke. They're smoking weed. They got mushrooms. It's like a buffet of hallucinogens, and they're just out there, and they're just like, we could do it. I could do it. There's no...
You want to hit the pitch that came across?
Yeah, I would love to have been the fly on the wall while they're, tossing ideas out there.
So a couple interesting things about Troma Films. First, the most notable thing is that Matt Stone and Trey Parker got their start there, the South Park creators.
You know what's funny is when I'm watching it, you told me they had something to do with it, and I didn't know if they were one of the actors or if they were, directed it or whatever. But in a roundabout way, the just, obscure off-the-wallness of this, it's a lot like South Park in some ways.
And how far it will push the boundary, and how far it would...
I love all that.
But so they got their start with a Troma film called Cannibal the Musical. The other really notable thing about this company was the creation of the Toxic Avenger in the 90s. And that is, just the story of a geek working at a fitness spa.
I remember that, but randomly I do.
Yeah, okay. So a geek working at a fitness spa gets stuffed into a barrel of nuclear waste, and becomes this giant hulking green monster that cleans up Tromaville.
Okay, I don't think I've ever seen it, but the Toxic Avenger, I know I've heard that before.
Right.
Okay.
It had 4 movies and a cartoon show for kids in the 90s and like a Game Boy game and toys. Like it was really kind of subculture, but still like the Tick kind of,
Gotcha.
big hero,
Okay.
superhero stuff, but not Marvel, not DC.
Right.
But anyway, so a lot of the Tromaville stuff, you were touching on the setting. It takes place in Tromaville, a city in New Jersey. And what I love about this film is it's so anti-PC. Like this is not for kids. Don't watch this. But for adults who think this might be their taste, it's phenomenal. You've got Tromaville, your 80s yuppie town in New Jersey. Anything's legal in New Jersey. There's nuclear waste everywhere. The piping sucks. It's all thrown in everything. And a lot of these films have to do about this nuclear waste causing problems. And in this movie, so it opens, we get these punks.
They were like, to me, they reminded me of the like, in the movie Weird Science, those road warrior type people that came in. I mean, it's so the epitome of like imagining like Road Warriors meets 80s punk, meets Neanderthal, like all that kind of rolled into one. And this cat and these cats are just like, right from the visuals alone, I love it because it's 80s as fuck. Oh yeah, like the hair, the outfits. Like no girl in this whole movie wore a bra, not one. Not one girl had a bra on. Nothing but, they must have had the temperature cranked down. Every single girl had hard nipples.
Well, I give Lloyd
I was
Kaufman
not
credit.
complaining about that. I was actually stoked. Within 30 minutes, I saw 2 sets of boobs.
Hey, the women are beautiful in the film, and definitely Lloyd Kaufman always opted to kind of cast closer to who is actually in the movie. Like, if we're going to do high school kids, they're not going to be the mid to late 20s of Dawson's Creek.
And you know what? I didn't even know, I had no idea. In my mind, I was trying to visualize, what town is this filmed in? And I didn't even realize it was New Jersey. Totally makes sense just by, some of the accents and the way that, the stereotype or whatever of the teens. But, I didn't even realize, until, a little bit later in it, that the whole reason that these road warrior people, the Cretins, were so jacked up is because they've been smoking weed that is grown in the yard of the nuclear power plant. And okay, we got a chick with a dick, we got some type of in transition transgender, I think it's a guy going to girl, but it has some weird boobs, and then it has a mustache and lipstick. That one I don't even understand. But then there's a chick with a Hitler mustache. There's some dude that has random patches of hair growing all over his face, his forehead, his nose, everywhere. And then I started figuring out, there's a dude. This dude right here. He's got 2 nose rings, and one of the nose rings has his mouthpiece, like a football player's mouthpiece attached to it. And all these kids, this Cretins used to be the honor students, and somehow or another they got into smoking weed, and because it's toxic weed, they got all screwed up, and then
and I love that about the Troma films. Like I said, it's so un-PC. It's violent. The comedy is raunchy. It's full.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
But the other side is it's also crazy liberal progressive. The messaging is who caused this accident?
Yeah,
it's a fat fat slob corrupt 80s New Jersey
and he's
businessman.
doing everything possible to. Don't look over here. This wasn't us.
Right.
We'll clean it up after hours. You didn't got to close the school down.
And I'm not trying to go down the political road, but it screams Flint, Michigan to me. It just screams oh hey, we're polluting the fucking And oh my god, if everyone in Flint, Michigan that was drinking that terrible water turned into Cretins,
Yeah.
we'd have a gigantic problem on our hands.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely. You could see that was something that back.
Well,
in
I
80s
mean, that's Lloyd's leanings though.
Oh, okay.
Like that whole company leans left, but
Yeah.
but I just think it's hilarious when you take the PC filter off the left and let it like run fucking wild.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
this is the kind of nonsense. You
Yeah,
get.
it went further than wild. Like, so then, like,
Well, okay. So we got
All right.
the Cretins, and then you're introduced to the jock characters. All these kind of preppy football player-ish trying to go
there's
to.
really only the one, and that's Warren. He's like he's like a high
Yeah.
school letterman guy.
Well, but he's got his two like sex-starved friends, which I assume would be on the football team. I don't know that.
Oh no, not them two little squirrely dudes. They reminded me of Revenge of the Nerds guys or something like that.
Right. Again,
Yeah.
that 80s like sex-hungry like.
You could see.
Well,
that
but
this,
you had that in Superbad too. So I mean, generationally, it's everywhere.
I mean, that's an easy way to do high school movies anyway.
Yeah,
is
that's true.
jocks and preps and the outcast kids and the nerdy ones and all that kind of stuff.
I just think it's hilarious that the hero group that's supposedly standing in opposition of the Cretins, you don't really like how how rapey they are, how they're trying to sneak into like college parties. I mean, hey, be honest, I'm all for that bathing suit fraternity party. Those were fun, but nothing is more terrifying than if a bunch of underage high school kids go into that party and start getting naked. Then you're all
like, the party came out of left field. I actually thought that in the very beginning of this party, this was like a school dance. And then it took me a minute to realize, no, this is somebody's house party, and because they go upstairs.
They're breaking into a college party. Yeah, they're totally going into a frat theme mixer as high school kids, and so what you have is you have the Cretins. They're dealing pot that's grown in a nuclear power plant with radioactive water right next to it, and they're selling it to these kids. They have this long drawn out scenes of who actually gets to smoke it. Only Chrissy and Warren end up smoking it.
I thought the one short dude with the Jufro, I thought
I thought he was trying to smoke it, but it lost it and it got stepped on.
Maybe.
I think that's what happened.
Okay.
Because those two get crazy.
Oh no, the girl did too.
Yeah, that's what Chrissy and Warren.
No, the other girl that came up, the Jersey girl. She came up and she was sitting right beside the dude with the big with the fro, and then she's kind of like, what, you're not going to smoke that without me, and then she takes a couple hits of it, shows them how it's done, and then they just stuff it in their Warren and Chrissy's mouth.
Gotcha. Well, what happened to that girl? Did you see her later?
Never even address it later.
Really? I wonder if that was Hitler Girl. I wonder if because Hitler Girl shows up at the end and you don't see her until the very end.
No, it's not. It's the girl. Anyway, yeah.
So anyway, so the Chrissy and Warren smoke the pot. They let down their inhibitions.
You haven't even mentioned what they're wearing. Okay, so this is a beach theme luau type party. Chrissy's rocking a blue bikini, and here comes Warren with a banana hammock's blue Speedo. Now keep in mind they got white socks on and white shoes, it just and they stuck out like a sore thumb. Like everybody else was a little bit more not in your face dressed.
Well, but that's exactly what happens when high school kids sneak into a college party and they hear about the theme. They always take it a little too.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I mean, hell, last night I was out for pizza and I saw some girl that looked like she was in high school wearing a leather jacket that was about mid-level, and she looked like a stripper. I mean, you run into that everywhere when you get that age group, kind of off the chain. But so they smoke the pot. They sneak upstairs to have sex. They have sex in a.
Well, she goes upstairs and she's on the bed rubbing herself down. Now, 30 seconds ago, Warren had on a Speedo, and he walks upstairs. He's fully dressed. He's got jeans, a button-up shirt on. He walks right past her, doesn't even realize she's
Well, they were supposed to be put on they wanted to leave. They were having a bad reaction and wanted to leave.
Right.
So they got dressed, but it just you have the results of that scene, which are they both go home.
That was the most awkward sex scene I think I might have ever seen in a movie before.
Yeah, I mean, not exactly where I'd go, given how like messed up they were on the nuclear pod. But the this is where you start to get to the horror elements for me. Like outside of the punks and how they look and the nose rings and all that noise, the hallucinations.
Well, before these hallucinations, we have to address the fact that I would probably say, stereotypically, Warren and Kristen are supposed to be the good, athletic, preppy, goody two shoes type kids, and they got more or less kind of strong armed into smoking some weed. He drops her off at a house that looks like a crack house, out in the middle of nowhere. I would have expected her to be living in a nice little white picket fence home, but she's like trying to be good white trash.
And it's like, yeah, well, here you go. Well, but then again, it is New Jersey.
That explains it.
So they're up there, and they're in these. They have these hallucinations after they go home to their separate houses, and you get the friggin' the scene from Alien.
Yeah, I referred to that as the Warren and Christie nuclear hallucination wet dream.
Yeah, it's really, I don't know. That's when it clicks on and it starts messing with me. So then the movie moves on to this gang hype up fight, which again the writing isn't the tightest. You're not really sure what gets set, how everything fully gets set up.
Well, before that is when, apparently Warren hulks out and turns into this nuclear fighting machine.
Yeah.
And he's ticked off because he finds out the next day at school from the two little nerdy guys that they got the weed from the Cretins, and
right, he's all pissed because he had such a bad trip.
Yeah, so then he hulks out and goes and kills two of them, and he basically sticks his whole arm down a dude's throat. I don't know why he did that, but obviously he killed two of them. And then the main guy for the Cretins gets thrown over a wall and doesn't know. He kind of thinks it looked like Warren, but he doesn't know. Then they're in the dumps. I mean the junkyard where they're compacting cars. Like that just popped up out of nowhere. Like I guess that was their meeting place.
Well, but for me that was like the epitome of all, again, that 80s punk culture of like Fort in the Woods, Return of the Dead had that, or Return of the Living Dead had that, we like to fucking hang out in graveyards element to it. Like,
yeah, I mean, maybe that's just their little, we go over there and hang out.
This was in the 80s, but all, the Warriors, all the, the gang hideouts. I could see that being for them, but yeah, I totally forgot that he hulks out and he sets off this war by killing two of them.
I was expecting that was going to be his thing, is like even later on when they're fighting again, I was expecting him to hulk out.
Well,
and it never happens again.
The fun thing about playing with the whole nuclear waste thing is it's a write all. You can do anything you want with it.
Yeah, apparently so.
I mean, it's Stan Lee. Oh, how did the mutants get powers? Oh, they were born with them. Oh, how did Spider-Man get powered? Radioactive spider. How did Hulk get powered? Radiation gamma ray. Just totally goofy shit like that. But I love that about the Troma movies. So you've got Warren out killing Cretins as a Hulk monster.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you have Chrissy in the high school, which what were they? You mentioned this. What were they serving for lunch?
Papa's chicken. You could get a 3-piece biscuit and mashed potatoes for lunch at this school. That's pretty cool.
Well, and the funny thing about that is that's, I don't know the name of it. I like Troma movies. I'm about 4 or 5 that I'm really familiar with, but one I haven't seen is like Poultrygeist, or it's entirely related to the Tromaville chicken fast food restaurant.
Okay.
Because of radiation, and people that eat it get turned into chicken zombies.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. What's next, right? If I've sold you on Troma movies, we're heading in that direction. Just to warn you. So back at the school, you have kids eating Popeye's chicken. You have Chrissy goes to the bathroom, who
Yeah, she has throws up a tadpole hairball miscarriage.
demon baby.
Yeah, her stomach starts swelling. I thought she was going to have a baby right there, like, in the bathroom.
Yeah, because it definitely had her like, oh no, like the whole alien pregnancy scene, like right after, like, wow, it actually led somewhere, like it went somewhere, and then. You got the oh, she's a good girl, she wouldn't have sex.
Right.
With
she
the
was 9
mom.
months pregnant.
Yeah, 9 months pregnant the next day.
Yeah.
And holy moly, because that's when I knew that was coming back. I knew Tadpole Baby was coming back.
Yeah, I figured there was only a matter of time before that thing.
But it paid off well though, because so the Cretins then they kidnap Chrissy. They hold her hostage.
Yeah.
And Warren has to mount a rescue. And it's not even like his hornball friends and all that. It's literally
this
just
is
like
while
him.
they've done the evacuation.
Oh, yeah, the nuclear evacuation.
Yeah, they basically beat up the principal, got on there, did the nuclear evacuation. They gunned down the school secretary in the principal's office. Somewhere along the lines, they acquired some firearms.
But the other side of this is you've always got that they cut back to the scenes of the fat businessman New Jersey guy like covering it up. Oh, we gotta cover this up. Like so that's how they're getting away with all this crazy shit. Like assault weapon destroying a secretary in the principal's office. The school evacuated I love this because it highlights everything brilliant about the American school system. Oh, this nuclear concerns. Let's just move them to the parking lot.
Yeah, it's kind of like, you'll hear stories about like back in the 50s when there was like nuclear war scares and
duck and cover.
Yeah, just get under the desk.
Duck and cover. Well, it's for me. It was right after Columbine, and they were running us through all these drills, and everyone fucking to avoid tests would call it bomb threats before that became like a terrible, terrible thing.
Yeah.
So they just literally just march us from the high school to the middle school.
It's like a false sense of security. Like,
yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, great. If someone actually wants to do this, like all they got to do is like get us while we're forced marching between high school and middle school.
Like even when I was in elementary and stuff, we'd have tornado drills and stuff, and we didn't really I didn't live in a tornado rich area, but even when I'm going out in the hallway and basically like crouching down into a little ball, I mean even in my mind I'm thinking, would this really stop a tornado? I mean, this is going to save us from a tornado? And then Twister pretty much blew that out of the water for me.
Exactly. Just get out of the way. But so, 4 standoff starts. You've got the scenes of the Cretins, riding motorcycles through the high school, which
that reminded me straight up out of Weird Science.
Yeah, Weird Science. 80s as fuck. 80s as fuck. The punk rockers riding bikes and motorcycles through the school.
Yeah, they're going through. That's when the Hitler mustache, just out of nowhere. Never seen her.
Hey, you can't say the movie doesn't constantly surprise you. Like there's always
that's an understatement.
Like visually, it's always grabbing you. It's constantly just crazy, and so the movie climaxes right. You've got Warren saving Chrissy. They're running from the Cretins. With the return, there's 2 things that happen. You got the return of Demon Baby, Demon Hairball Tadpole comes back as a. This is probably 12 hours later, maybe, if that, 6 hours later. Anyway.
Maybe next day.
Comes back fully grown and gets introduced by punching its hand through one of the Cretins' heads.
And I was totally okay. The logic of, the weed grew so quick,
Yeah, you see,
that logic, I was totally fine with that. Like, the weed grew really quick. I'm like, okay, no different than... hormones and so forth. And then we've got, the day later, she's 9 months pregnant. Like, I'm fine with that. Okay.
The writing may be suspect, but there is logic.
There was logic that I could buy that, so to speak. But you forget, like, that tadpole thing was in that barrel because the girl had flushed it, and the piping system in New Jersey sucks, and he leaked out and fell into
into the nuclear waste. Yeah, that's hidden under the school.
Yeah, great place. That's perfect place to store that stuff. So then, they're going through with the Geiger counters, interrupting cheerleading camp, scanning people, and they got on like food prep gloves. Guy's walking underneath there, and he's got a mask on, and he takes his mask off. He's smoking a cigarette underneath it, and then he drops his mask in that barrel, and then that's when he gets yanked in. He looked like he was at least 6 foot tall, and he got yanked into a 4-foot barrel, and got eaten by, Christian Warren's love child.
Well, and that whole love child thing, I just loved it. It turned it into a Frankenstein movie. It turned it into there's a rampaging monster.
But it cared about them.
But it cared. It did care.
And it saved their life. I was really hoping when it grabbed a hold of her, I was hoping and praying that somehow or another this thing was going to crawl up the side of the building, and they were going to have like fighter jets coming.
Do the King Kong?
Why not?
Well, but it does. It does end in a great and spectacular fashion with the previously introduced like German scientist teacher, which again, Dr. Krieger, I loved, prequel. Like, oh no, if you shot this laser into this thing, the school would explode. Yep. And that's how they deal with the monster at the end. It's
That's right.
You put the rifle on stage, you gotta fire the rifle.
And that was probably the most thought out by accident thing in this movie. Is when Warren kills he has to kill his own son.
The Dean baby.
And he shoots him with the laser, and because of all the toxic chemicals and stuff, they're out in the park. Luckily, they were out past the curb.
Right, yeah. I mean, the school can explode, but if you're in the parking lot, you're okay.
And it was, they were without, they were beyond the blast radius of this. So that was really... It shows that they've really thought out the whole evacuation for the school thing, and they understand the blast radius. So that was really good. I like that.
Well, I love the movie. I absolutely love how random it is. I think it is in that's so bad it's good quality.
That's the best way to put it. It's so bad it's good.
But I mean, it's not bad because of incompetence. It's not a standard movie. It's out off the pale. Like it's just out there. It's horror comedy, teen romance.
It's like the
jabs they throw are clever. It's it could easily have been Captain Planet if it wanted to be. Messaging of the 80s and early 90s about pollution. I dug the crap out of it, and it's just so fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a hot mess, that's for damn sure. And but it's
I would love to have a friggin' beer with Lloyd Kaufman and have the conversation.
I'd have loved to have been sitting there just like how they brainstormed this movie before they actually... I am dumbfounded that this is $2 million. I think they probably cost them about $5,000, and they pocketed the rest.
Dude, but no, you paid everybody. And I'll say this. Lloyd Kaufman is one of those trailblazers. He's like Kevin Smith and Tarantino, guys that got out there and did their own thing and made it work.
Okay, well...
So you got to give respect to the man for that. You got to respect for a company.
I do, but...
They're still making movies. 40 years later, they're still making movies.
I want to see the one that came out in 2013. I want to see that.
Well, good. I'm glad you answered my next question, which is do we get to see more Troma Films on the show?
Because, there's a lot of movies that I watched, that had special effects that were not very good. For the time,
right,
and my age, they were horrifying. And for me to watch some of them today, it is a joke. I could probably count on one hand a couple that I watched today, and the special effects actually hold up.
Well, I think practical effects really help this movie, and I like practical effects.
I do too.
So
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's not low budget to the point where it's bad CGI. Like a modern movie, you're going to have bad CGI. You're
right.
Have cheap costumes.
This was really
Like there's
poor.
Yeah.
I mean,
But there's some craftsmanship in it too. Like the monster looks like a monster. Like it doesn't look bad. The pregnancy scene was horrifying. Like the pregnancy hallucination.
I'll say the one where she was laying in the bed might have been their best work, just because they did show her belly and it was expanding and it didn't look fake. It actually looked pretty good. Obviously that's where they did the best job. The one in the throat where some of the scarring was just peeling off, and other little things. And the good thing about the monster at the end is they never really showed you the whole monster as a whole. You saw the tail, you saw the head, you saw parts of this and that, and it was very poor lighting, which is a good way to hide.
Yeah, exactly.
But
it's a good film.
Yeah,
technique.
I mean, they've done that in a lot of things that have helped out through the years. But honestly, it's fun. It's funny. It's out there. I would be interested in watching some of their other ones just to see if they got better or if everything else was just a complete random.
See, I want to know how far I can take you down the bad path first before showing you the Cannibal the Musical, which was the South Park guys, or their main Toxic Avenger. I absolutely love one called Sergeant Kabuki Man, NYPD. And just let that title sit on you for a minute.
I mean,
yeah, I got you.
Yeah, as soon as you said NYPD, I was like, "What?"
Sergeant Kabuki Man.
Yeah,
NYPD. But hey, guys, thanks for listening to our ramblings on Class of Nuke High. This, I think, hopefully is something we're going to continue with a recommendation section in addition to our Star Wars talks.
Yeah, I think what we'll do. By the way, you can go on YouTube, and I'll put a link down in the description. You can actually go watch this movie on YouTube for free. Yep. Complete movie. I think we're going to start doing stuff like this because we are going to have breaks with with Rebels, and after we'll obviously have stuff coming up with the holidays, as far as because the movie's coming out in the holidays. But we will have breaks, and I think it'd be cool to do some other stuff about Valentine's Day and St. Patrick's Day and different holidays.
Yeah, we'll find good stuff, but I mean, I think,
and we'll try to find obscure stuff too.
Oh, definitely. So what I'll throw this down for the listeners right now. We are going to do a Doctor Strange talk when that movie hits, and
that's Friday.
That's Friday.
Yep.
And if we get to continue this, what I'm calling recommendations, I'm saying we go with the glorious of 1981 fantasy drama Excalibur. You on board for that?
Yeah, that's probably one of my childhood favorites. If I was to watch that movie for the first time now, I probably wouldn't get 30 minutes into it, but that is an absolute favorite of mine as a kid.
Hey, we're bringing it to you guys, so hey, get ahead of the game, go see Doctor Strange, keep up with Rebels, check out Excalibur, and thank you for listening.
And Rebels will be back next week. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and may the Force be with you.